Hey everyone, welcome to Fearless Gray Live. Happy Friday. Let's have a flocking good weekend. But before we do, let's talk about competitiveness versus selflessness. That's really hard to say. Competitiveness versus selflessness. I think initially when we think about those two things, we think they're like opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Like, how can you be competitive and selflessness? The reality is they are really tied together. Let's talk about why. So like earlier this week, we talked about don't feel guilty about your talents. And that really ties into today's discussion of competitiveness versus selflessness. So what is competitiveness? It is, let's see here, the possession of the desire. I gotta look, I wrote it down. Possession of the desire to be more successful than others. That's like the first definition in the dictionary. But let's back that up because I think it's really lacking. Like, what is others? I think competitiveness is if we want to be better than our prior self. I guess that could be an other, right? Like, I'm competitive who I was 5 minutes ago. I want to do better. I want to do a better video today than I did yesterday. I want to be a better mom than I was yesterday. So that's competitiveness too. So that's the desire to be better than quote unquote others, but that other is your prior self. But I also think there's we can be competitive about an outcome. So competitiveness does not just have to be against another person. It can be an outcome. So I could be competitive about, like back in my CPA days, I could be competitive about doing the best audit. I know that sounds funny to you, and it actually sounds funny to me, but the outcome, right? I'm not trying to do a better audit than someone else because I was working on an audit by myself. But I could be competitive about doing the best possible audit, my best possible outcome. Like when I was volunteering, like if I ran an event, I could be competitive that it could be the best possible event. I wasn't trying to be competitive about like however somebody else ran it another year or something like that. I was competitive about the outcome of my event that I was running. So competitiveness can be three things, I think, with others, yourself, that self can be your prior self or an outcome. And when we start to think about the last one, especially competitiveness about an outcome, is really where the selflessness comes in, right? Because if we're competitive about an outcome, it's generally for the good of another person. I was reading this book, Way of the Warrior by Erwin McManus, which I love, so good. And he was talking about how his cancer doctor was competitive about beating cancer. So he was competitive about that outcome. Well, how selfless was that doctor? He had to go through all that education and all that schooling and all the expense to become a doctor. But it was selfless because he was competitive about beating cancer for this doctor. The same thing is like, let's say, like I use my volunteering example. So if I was competitive about wanting to run the best event I could personally run, that was like selfless because I wasn't getting any of the finances from the event that we were running. It was going to the greater good. So that competitiveness was really like a selfless act. So I just think, like when we're talking about two things that we initially think of that might sound like so self-serving, our talents and competitiveness, like let's stand back and realize, especially when you tie those together, your talents and your competitiveness, like your talent, be competitive about your talents, use them for the greatest because of course being greatest means serving others, and get the best possible outcome. Take your talent, be competitive about it, and use it for the best possible outcome for others. All right, that's Fearless Gray for today. I'm going to bring back Fearless Gray thought of the day. How do I say that? And so the thought for the day is be flocking awesome. Use your talents to be awesome. Have a great day.